Hi, amazing biz besties, and welcome to our next session. The beautiful Marilou is joining us, and I believe her superpower is one of love and connection. And like other women that we've spoken to, curiosity, but she really wants to connect with that curiosity inside you and know who you are and your heart and how you operate. So welcome, Marilou. Thank you for joining us. I'd love you to share with everyone what your superpower is and a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. I feel so honoured to be here, Nicole. I just love what you do. I love how you shine the light on women, and actually not just women, you shine the light on humans in general. And I just adore everything that you do. So I feel really honoured to be part of this project that you've created in shining the light the way that you do. My superpower really, I feel, is about seeing how people shine, that gift in people that they may not see in themselves, and being able to bring that gift out. This is Bobby. He always wants to say hi. He's also got awesome superpowers where he feels where people need him. And anytime I've had a client come over here, he sits with them and calms them right down with his beautiful energy.
And Bob's not afraid of, he's not camera shy, is he?
No, he's not camera shy. He just loves cuddles. But yeah, together we basically have the superpower. My work revolves a lot around working with youth, anywhere between the ages of, and I'm talking about my one-on-one sessions, like the soft packages that I do, soft skills packages I do with kids. They start from about 7 onwards to, about 16, 17 are my clients normally. So yeah, our superpower is about helping them to believe, to see their light and believe in their light and use their light to empower them in life.
Which is really important. And another one of your skills, which I've been looking forward to discussing, because a lot of women are business women similar to yourself, but you also speak to mums, and we forget to empower mums, I think, sometimes.
Massively.
So I would love you to share how you empower mothers to shine as well.
Do you have an hour for that? No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
So passionate about this, and this has been huge conversations that I've been having, especially over the last month, as I've been off to attend retreats and facilitate at retreats where, just recently we were at the Ultimate Girls Week away in Fiji. And interestingly, my session that I was running was about value-based parenting. And I remember saying to Lisa, the CEO of the retreat, I said to her, I don't think anyone's going to come to my workshop. All these moms are going to be getting away and they don't want to think about parenting. They want to do stuff for themselves, even though what I'm teaching was totally for them. They needed it. But, when it comes to that sort of stuff, sometimes we just don't see. I mean, look at the language that we use in society. We're just a mum, right? Introducing us, we're just a mum. And it really pees me off, like breaking that down. So what was really interesting at this retreat and in my workshops, what I realized is that I did have very low numbers. And one of the ladies that came, bless her heart, she was like, look, I'm going to be really honest with you as a disclaimer right up here. She's like, but all the other workshops, like this workshop, I really did want to come to it, but all the other ones I wanted to go to more, they were booked out. And she's like, so I ended up coming to this one because my process thing was, I do so much for my kids. I want to do something for me. I don't want to come to something about parenting, right? And I went, isn't that interesting? And we unpacked it a little bit. And she said, I can't believe how much I actually did need this session. And this is not just about parenting. That saying, like how you do one thing in life is how you do everything in life kind of thing when it comes to the way that we deal with stress, the way that we communicate, the way that, the special thing about being a mum, though, that upsets me when I am speaking to mums and they don't see it. And this is about, again, bringing that light out from them and shining it to them and bringing the awareness to it. So yes, as women, we are wonderful. We've got superpowers and all the things that we can do and the intuition, if we tap into it, that we can use. But the next level for me about becoming a mother, and this is me speaking from my experience, is that I went on such a slippery slope in the beginning. You know, I had high expectations when I was pregnant with my first. The expectations weren't met at all. You know, he was 6 weeks preemie. I spiraled down in quite a heavy postnatal depression and anxiety more than anything. Yeah. Which then spiraled me into understanding the human mind, because, you know, I did CBT. I've got a Bachelor of Social Science, for freak's sake. Like, I should have been able to do all this stuff and understand all this stuff, right? But I never understood it in the context of parenting. And I'm so grateful for all of that, because that's put me on the journey of where I am today and how I do speak to mothers and wanting, you know, I'm quite passionate about this, in that we're not just a mum. If you stop and think about it, we have co-created a life, we have grown a life, we have birthed a life, and we are responsible for a life that we are raising. And that, in fact, impacts society, because how we raise our children is what society is going to end up putting up with. Yeah. And all of that is missed when we talk about motherhood. When we talk about motherhood, we talk about smelly nappies and no sleep and all the other crap, or, you know, the comparison of, oh, my child slept longer, blah, blah. Well, it's not about that, is it? We totally distract ourselves with all these things so that we forget about our superpowers as mums.
So what you're saying, and what I'm taking from what you're saying is, and the point that you made is, how we do one thing is how we generally what we do in the rest of our life. And I think as women, just mums or whatever, we actually don't value ourselves as mothers. And I think that can be the whole thing, whether, doesn't matter what we're doing, we don't value ourselves enough we take ourselves for granted.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, society reinforces that. Have a look at a mother who's been out of the workforce for, let's just say, 7, 8 years until her child starts school, right? Or 6 years. Let's just say 6 years. 6 years is a long time to be out of a position. I get that. How is our society structured where, you know, like, you go, oh, I'm just a mum and I can't go back in the workforce. Well, hang on a minute. If I get you to get a piece of paper, write down every single freaking task that you've done as a mother, with your organizational skills getting better, with your financial skills getting better, budgeting, you know, and if you've got more than one, oh my gosh, like, you are the best negotiator and the best, what do you call it? When, you know, your kids are fighting, like controlling all of that. What the hell, if, you know, you become a nurse, you become, like, the stuff you learn about medically as a mother and what you need to do for your children. I mean, I know I became almost a nutritionist when my children, you know, were born, and I found out I had celiac and all the stuff I had to learn about food. Where do you learn about all of that like you do in motherhood? Nowhere. Let me tell you, no job teaches you that, nowhere. Yet, we totally disregard these skills as just mum. Like, they mean F4, and we don't actually look at how our skills are so transferable from this thing that we call just mum.
How do we step into our power, Marilou, as mothers, and especially that I love about you, that you empower young children to understand themselves, to be resilient, to stand in their own power. How do we step up into that and own it?
Honestly, listen to the mind talk. Call your own bullshit out. Like, listen to the mind talk. You know, even your negative mind talk is serving you. And this is what I say to kids as young as 4 years old that I yoga with. When they tell me, oh, I can't do a yoga pose like that, Miss Marilou, that's too hard. And I'm like, damn right, it's too hard. That's what you're telling yourself. So you're right, because that's what you believe. And they just look at me, and a 4-year-old gets it. They get it. They're so much better than the adults. And then within, you know, half an hour, when we're towards the end of it, look at me, Miss Marilou, I can do it. I can do it. And I'm like, oh, so you believe you can do it now? Look at you. That's right, you can. So really, it's about challenging your self-belief, because a belief is nothing but what a meaning you've put to an event that's happened in your life. So check on that in meaning that you're putting to whatever event is happening in your life. And if the belief is that you're not good enough, or that it's a negative talk, question it. That's how you step in your power. When you go, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough for this. Who said that to you? How is that right? Is it actually true? How do you know it's true? Where's the evidence to it being true? That's how and myself, like I do this sometimes, you know, when last year I got invited to teach a cultural diversity unit as part of a psychotherapy course, right? And of course I said yes, because I say yes to a lot of opportunities. And when the time came, I shut my pants. I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? Am I good enough? And I went, hold on a minute. Let's have a look at the evidence that I'm giving my brain. And I talk like this to myself, where I go, well, is it true? Who said it's true? Why am I not good enough? Who says I can't do it? Let's see how I can do it. What help do I need in getting it done? So it's just shifting your language and, you know, your mindset in being, and I love doing this with kids the most, you know, Nicole, because they get it. 5 sessions with me and they've walked away really, truly tapping into their own empowerment and into their own light.
How do you, because you also work with the parents because they need to be able to model this behaviour, how as a parent or a mother do we model this behaviour to our children, whether they be young or similar to my daughter who's, you know, nearly 20? How do I model that behaviour to say, okay, don't believe everything that you think is true?
Well, you practice it yourself. I think the most important things for parents, you know, who come to me and say, oh, you know, I want my child to have less anxiety, or I want them to have more confidence. I always just say, you need to be practicing that yourself as a mother. And how do you do that is, you know, again, like watching the self-talk, but also children are so amazing at, like, they've got the best bullshit radar. And when you're not being authentic, kids pick that up. So if you are having a hard time, I believe it's really important, and I advise any parent that I work with, any mother that I work with, be honest. Be honest with your child and let them know, hey, I'm having a hard time. I think the thing is with mothers, they think that they need to know everything. They think that they, you know, I don't know where this friggin' imaginary manual on parenting is that everybody thinks that they must have. You know, but your child writes that manual for you as you're going through life together. So get rid of this notion that, you know, there's a shoulds on how to do all this stuff. And I think it's just really important for us to own, like with my kids, if I'm having a hard time, or, you know, I've got like a talk coming up and I'm presenting, I'll say to my boys, oh my gosh, mummy is so nervous, guys. I'm really nervous right now. Let them know that I'm human, that I struggle in the same way they struggle when they have to get up in front of their class and do a presentation. This is an example, right? So, yeah, like be authentic as a mother and let your children know without playing a victim. This is not about playing victim, but this is about owning, you know, and not trying to be this super human that we're not. And then we're giving our children the message that they also can't fail and they need to be superhuman as well. So I hope that's answered your question.
It certainly has. When you're working with a young person and teaching them to shine, what is it that you want them to leave with?
I want any person that works with me to walk away with being true to themselves and do what lights them up rather than what somebody else says. You know, there's a lot of shoulds in the world. If you keep on like shoulding on yourself and allowing others to should on you, then you're going to have a miserable life because you're not living by your own values. You're not living aligned with your own truth. So what I want these, especially children, to walk away with, and what I do with them when I do bring the parents in on a session and we work together, is for the parent to understand not to lay their values all on their children and expect their children to be living in those values, and to make it a two-way street. And, you know, for the parent to recognize their child's light and what they're good at and what their child wants to do. And as long as they have that open communication, you know, not I want, but hey, I would like it to be this way. So it's all about that energy and how we communicate and the language that we use. But yeah, I really want everyone that walks away from working with me to stay true to themselves and to, you know, align their values with what it is that they want in life and how they go about doing it. You can get a 9-year-old boy to stack up the dishwasher, unpack the dishwasher, clean up his room if you align all that stuff with his values and the way you communicate that to them.
How important is it, and we've touched on this earlier with Natalia, about just because someone is good at something doesn't mean that they enjoy it.
No, absolutely. And it's funny actually you say that, because this last weekend I've been at a retreat with my mastermind with this gorgeous bunch of phenomenal women, and that was the biggest thing that we kept on coming up as a theme, is just because you're good at it. Like, I am really, really good at creating the most complex round the world itineraries. Yeah, I used to work in the industry. I am so good at my knowledge, you know, with 38 countries now that I've been to, over 67 cities. I'm good at that. I'm really good at that. Do I enjoy it anymore? Oh yeah, sure I do, but it doesn't light me up in the same way that I do with the work that I do with parents and children. So just because you're good at something, you can give yourself permission to do the stuff that light you up, not just because you're good at it and it's going to bring you the income in. Align both of them. You can actually have stuff that you love doing and that you are good at and earn money from that, if you choose to.
Yeah. And I guess that's what, and it keeps coming up, that we need to give our permission to ourselves to do stuff. What is it with women, mothers, and even raising children, that we teach ourselves and others that we have to have permission from ourselves or someone else to actually participate in life?
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, just from my experience is very different in how I grew up, you know, being from a Middle Eastern culture, and the expectations and stuff that get put on a woman there. But I'm very much a rebel against a lot of that. I had a lot of shoulds on me as a kid, but I think reverse psychology would have worked really well on me. So when you told me I had to cook and clean and learn sewing and all of that, I totally went the opposite way and said, no freaking way am I going to do this, you know?
Yeah.
But not everybody's like that. And so I think in general, going back in history and the lineage of women has always been that we had to ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in our DNA, just in general, you know, that's something that's been conditioned in us over time. However, I am going to call bullshit on that, because we don't live in those times anymore. In my experience, and having lived over 5 different countries, okay, and 2 of them being the US and the UK and Australia, Australia by far has so many opportunities for women that if we continue in the cycle of talking about what women have, which we didn't 50 years ago, but it is different now, we are giving away our power, I believe. If we are able to focus on all the stuff that women can do and are able to do and are doing, because we've got some fantastic women doing some amazing things on our planet right now, not just in Australia, but overall. I mean, you know, friggin' we're learning from a 16-year-old about climate change. You know, like, don't underestimate that, and don't keep on going on about women not having voice and power. This is my belief anyway, because women do and women are, and we really need to start focusing on more of what we want, because the more you focus on what you don't want, the more that's all you're going to see, right? So focus on what women are doing and all the great things we are achieving. We're only going to create more of that. That's my belief.
Look, I totally agree, and you know from more than most people how much I truly believe in women empowering each other, and it is the core of what I believe we need to do. And part of that is believing in each other and saying, hey, that's why I asked for you women to come up and step up and say, what is your superpower? Because I know that each one of you have many of them, and for me it's very hard for you to see not just one for you to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's really important for women to actually not take themselves for granted and not take their voice for granted. And yes, we do need to learn how to do it, but we're able to support each other in that as well.
And I honestly, like, it's really funny about, I don't know, maybe a month ago, I had a gorgeous group of women at my house that we were, you know, connecting together and workshopping through stuff. And I went to say, oh yeah, I realized I had this habit of talking about, oh yeah, I need to heal the sister wound. So growing up, even though I've got an amazing mother who is my rock and just phenomenal woman, I didn't trust women. I had such a, like, women to me growing up in high school, all sorts of stuff. Like, all my troubles growing up came from the bitchiness of girls, the backstabbing. Growing up, I gravitated towards being friends with the guys because everything was simple. There wasn't any of the fights, and if there was disagreements, like, we just got over it and moved on and just kind of shook hands and it was done, you know. So I kept on, I realized I was talking about a sister wound. And when I was with these women, I went, no, I don't have a sister wound. I am no longer talking about that. I am no longer focusing on that. Because if I was to write down a list of all the women in my life that I know, including yourself, Nicole, you have like a huge list. And because I am choosing to focus on that gorgeousness of women and how women do support each other and how women nurture. Like, you know, at the moment, so many women want to be like men, and we're fighting, you know, we want equal pay, we want to be CEOs. Yeah, great. Of course we do want all that equality. But I also urge women to remember about their nurturing side, about the things that make us women, not to always want to be like men. And there's nothing wrong with taking action and striving for things and being in all that beautiful masculinity stuff that gets stuff done, right? But even though we're doing all of that and we're getting all of those things, we're doing it like men. We're not doing it like women. Because if we're doing it like women, you'd be okay with being just a mom. The nurturing side of things, the one that cares about, the one that grows things, the one that brings harmony to things. That's the beautiful side of being a woman and having that superpower that we just tend to forget about. And without it, the world would not go around, let me tell you.
And it just brought in, and I've spoken about politics with somebody else, and what you just said, if there were more women in politics, we wouldn't be as toxic. I'm not saying that we still wouldn't have opposing opinions, but it wouldn't be as toxic because we actually want to grow and nurture the environment and the culture and the social aspects of our life.
I agree with you, but I'd say this is the thing. I don't think it's about having more women in politics, because we do have women in politics. And if there are women in politics that are going into the toxic masculine or even the toxic feminine.
But there have to be women, and like that's what I'm saying, probably more women to embrace their womanhood in politics.
Yes, exactly, spot on. And you know what? One of the women in my mastermind is in politics, and she is bringing on the most beautiful change. And if you see this woman, she is all in her feminine. She is all... And her beautiful masculine, like her energy is so balanced and aligned. And just by being her and just by dropping into her essence as a woman, she is already bringing about change in the language in council. So she's running for council in a Queensland region. And I tell you what, I'm like, I want to steal you and bring you down to Melbourne for us, you know. But already she is seeing a ripple effect of what she's brought in and how the men and women are talking to each other, talking to themselves, less of that bitchiness, less of that crap that goes on in politics. And yeah, it is all about her owning and dropping into her essence as a woman rather than going in trying to be a man doing this job. Because us women, being women, can do these jobs, if not better.
And we are as powerful as women as we are. You don't have to be a man or trying to be a man not to be powerful.
That's it.
What we have to say is very powerful, and if we speak from our hearts, it's power. You know, we have this amazing inner strength of women that we deny, you know, and my business was actually created because I see so many women who don't look at their inner strength and create what they want out of that inner strength, whether it be business, whether it be a beautiful stay-at-home mum and raising their children to be powerful people. There's still power in that.
Exactly, 100%. And I think this is a huge thing that I love working on people with is understanding their value system and like where that fits in. So if you've been told that you should go out and work to be of value as a mother, and you're constantly in this, like, you know, no harmony in your life, and because your values are truly about staying home and maybe raising the next Kennedys, you know, because, you know, JF Kennedy, that was his mum's value. Her mission was to raise people like to raise a son who did what he does. That was her mission and that's her values and that's all she wanted to do. She had nobody shooting on her, allowing anybody to shoot on her to go out and work or do anything else that wasn't aligned with that value, right? So when we understand our values and align our actions with that, there's less, you know, there's no, like that's where we're in our total power. We are in our total power doing that.
Yeah, 100% agree. We need to be in our power, but we actually need to know what our values are and not hide from them, because our values can also not be, it can be a weakness as much as a strength, but being aware of them, we can use them.
100%, Nicole. And, you know, you've mentioned a few times, like, you know, women who hide and they don't want, or, you know, I'm going to actually also just say something that may not be very popular, but I really do invite our viewers to really have a think about this. And I'm talking about this from having lived it and experienced it, okay? I'll just quickly share with you when I did go through my postnatal depression and anxiety and I spiraled down quite a bit. What I learned about that is how that actually was working for me. It was working for me. It was serving me, okay? And I was unconsciously doing depression and anxiety. And I say doing because I did. And the reason I chose to do it on an unconscious level is because it served me. It made my husband stay home and look after me. My mum, who's quite busy running 2 businesses, would stop all that she was doing when I couldn't get out of bed and look after my kids. And she came and cared for me. And so what did my soul receive? It received nurturing. It received, you know, all this stuff that I needed and didn't realize that I needed. So when I had this awareness come in of why I did anxiety, next time it would come up. And even so now, like I still have anxiety come up and visit me. I've made friends with it. That's the difference, right? And I realized, oh, hello, anxiety, right? I haven't spent enough time with my mom. I'm not getting quality time with my husband. I'm not going down this road. I'm going to actually communicate and ask for what my needs are so it can be met in a positive way. Yeah. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is my experience. Imagine, you know, the women that you've spoken about, how is it meeting their needs when they play small? How is it meeting their needs when they're not in their superpower? Oh, hello, darling. I'll look after you. That's okay. Let me help you. And it keeps them small. You know what I mean? They're having a need met in some way.
I also agree in business that we go to the overwhelm, I can't, and we go to the I can't, and I'm overwhelmed and I'm frustrated. Well, while you can't play big, you can't welcome in big. And I think that's a really important thing. And we all have that secondary need of our unconsciousness protecting us, you know, from fright, flight, fear, appease. You know, it's a very, you know, it's a caveman thinking of our brain, and that's how we are built. But we have to be very aware of, you know, our unconscious and how it's serving us. I would love to thank you for joining us today. What is one thing that you want everybody to take away from our conversation today?
Awareness. You know, I always say any problem you have is 50% solved if you have awareness, because then you can choose to either take action or not. But if you're having an issue in your life and there is no awareness around it and you choose to, you know, keep a blind eye to it, then that's fine, but just know that nothing's going to change. So if you take anything from today is bringing some awareness to the issues around in your life and why you are playing small, and how can you really step in and shine your light brighter.
And if people want to connect with you further, that you have a Facebook page?
I do have a Facebook page, a website page, mariloucoombe.com. And yeah, and you can find me on both of those channels. I'm quite active on both of those. So, and you know, I'll be growing my YouTube thanks to your beautiful encouragement, Nicole, and shining a light in that area. So yeah, that'll be happening down the track this year.
And everybody will be able to find any of the today's sessions on my YouTube channel. So jump across. Marilou, you will jump in and answer any questions if any viewers have them about what we've discussed today.
100%, 100%. Yeah, please, I invite questions. Questions are what's going to you know, you're showing curiosity, and that's what's going to bring even more awareness by asking those questions.
So thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to see you all in the next session.
Thank you.